Hey guys, welcome to the Bangers Only podcast. This is Clark. You can check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as always, and I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. Hello everyone. We're back. Long awaited Weeknd part 3. How you feeling?
I mean, dude, honestly, it's been so long. We've not that we've been putting this episode off, because that's not the thing. We haven't been putting it off. It's just that like we needed a mental health break, and our lives were just going crazy with school and everything. So now's the time. Today's the day.
It is the time. Yeah, we feel good. We're ready. 'Cause this is going to be a fun episode. In my opinion, at least, I think, because I don't know if it'll be my favorite of the Weeknd episodes, but maybe the most controversial in a way.
Maybe, yeah.
But I mean, we can get right into it.
Let's do it.
Last time we talked about Kissland and Beauty Behind the Madness, which was fun.
Mhm.
And this time we decided we'd just finish up his discography. And so Starboy is next. What are your initial feelings about this project?
So listening to it, honestly, I didn't hear a good song till I got to True Colors.
Really?
I honestly like, for me, I felt like Starboy was like really overplayed.
It was.
And so like I was just like, ugh, like in my mind I was like, should I skip it because I've heard it so much? But I was like, nah, I need to give this project the respect it deserves. And so I stuck through all 3 minutes and 50 seconds of it. So like, it was whatever. I wasn't like the happiest listening to it. But yeah, I mean that was just my feeling with it. Like I didn't actually like hear a song or like a beat where I was like, "Oh, I like this," until I got to True Colors.
Interesting. Because while I like admit that Starboy is overplayed, I think it's a decent song. Um, like I think it's an interesting beat. I mean, it's Daft Punk, it's something cool there with the beat. Um, Obviously, there's not much substance to it or Party Monster.
Mhm.
Um, I really dislike the song False Alarm. That song drives me crazy.
I think that one drove me a little bit crazy too. I'm not even gonna lie.
Where the hook is like him screaming it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but then I do really like the song Reminder. I think Reminder is cool. Um, because he's kind of just talking about how like he's been here, like reminding us who he is.
Yeah. I'm with that.
Was that was that a little bleed through? I heard.
Yeah, it was a little bleed. It happens, dude.
It's all good. No worries. And
It's
then Rockin' comes along though, and I'm not a fan of Rockin'. Um, it's just the thing about this project is that like there's not really much that we can say because it's like the songs are so like easy to interpret. Like I feel dumb kind of just going through and talking about what the songs are about. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, but like for me, like what really kicked it off for me was like True Colors, because
right.
like I just like that, like the bass that was going on, and just like
Yeah.
it felt like, if this is the direction I want the Weekend to go in, knowing he has to like maybe make more songs that are pop, mainstream stuff, like this is what I would want him to make. And
Yeah.
this is a lot of music that I like listening to right now, and that's why I liked it more.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just it, and then it just kept getting better for me because then the next two features were beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I thought I fucking loved them.
I
Like
like the Stargirl interlude. I mean, it's not like one of my favorites, but
mm-mm.
Lana did her thing. But yeah, I mean that Kendrick feature on Sidewalks is crazy,
Yeah,
and
like
the
those were
Sam
my
Smith feature
two.
too.
Those were my two like most anticipated songs. I was like, okay, these better be so good. Cause
Yeah,
like Lana and Kendrick, like come on, like these need to be really good. And
yeah,
Sidewalks didn't disappoint me.
right. No, Sidewalks was great. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Tell Your Friends from the last album. Just had
Mm.
that vibe, you know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd say I really like True Colors and Sidewalks as well. Those are two standouts for me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't 6 Feet Under is okay. Another one that was like on the radio a bunch. Love to Lay. I literally like think that's a forgettable song.
Wait, which song?
Love to Lay
Yeah, facts.
and A Lonely Night as well. It's just
Hmm.
like I don't
I
know
was
this.
over the album after I got past 6 feet under. I was done.
Yeah, bro. It's too long. It's 18
I
tracks. If
was
you guys
not
don't know.
having it after 6 feet under.
Yeah, like
Um,
if you're gonna make a nearly 20 track album, like I don't have any advice for someone who's trying to make a 20 track album.
yeah, dude, you know, you and I were working on what, like a 5 song EP.
Yeah,
We have no advice for a 20 song album.
yeah.
But like
I mean,
going back to like Sidewalks, like dude, that was the most auto tune I think I've ever heard on his voice.
yeah.
Like the most. And like I was upset about that because I'm like, bro, why are you doing this to your voice? Like it's good, you know?
I mean, it
And
was clearly on
it was
purpose.
clearly, yeah, it was like a clear, like this was like a choice because I was just upset because I like the beat. It was so good. It just didn't go with his vocals. It went with Kendrick's really well, but
Yeah,
just it didn't go with the Weekends. And I was just kind of like, dude, come on, you
yeah. I
know?
think it was like a little bit out of his range, Loki. I mean, I'm not saying that he has like a very limited range or anything, but like, yeah, I agree. Like, it would have sounded weird if the auto tune wasn't there in a way. Like, it would have
Hmm.
been like, I don't know if that fits.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that song I do like the instrumental a lot, and Kendrick's feature is cool. I mean, I've never heard a Kendrick feature I didn't like. So,
yeah.
um,
And like Kendrick did his thing too. Like Kendrick, like he when you hear Kendrick rap, he has like his own style,
oh yeah,
you know, and like you're like, oh, that's Kendrick for sure. And like
yeah, and his
he
flow is
brought it,
always
you know.
crazy. Yeah, I
He,
can't wait until we talk about Kendrick on here.
yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be a fun one for sure. But yeah, definitely once I got to 6 feet under, I was just like, okay, like cool. Like this was like, all right, I like these like 4 songs in the middle. And then I just was annoyed the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's just the songs are so repetitive and poppy. Like it's to a point where it's a little bit like it's just a lot, you know? Like it's not kind of a mix like Beauty Behind the Madness was. Like this is straight up like pop music,
Yeah.
you know? And I mean, I understand why people like it. Like this album commercially was his most popular one. Um I mean, look at the streams for Starboy. It's at 1.4 billion for the song.
Yeah, itself.
um
The fact that
and
Blinding Lights is beating it right now is
I know.
ridiculous.
Shout out Blinding Lights. But I
TikTok,
do
shout out
like
TikTok.
God damn. I do like the song Ordinary Life.
Hmm.
Um I think it's another one of those cool tracks where he's just talking about his lifestyle, but I mean it's not that creative. I just like the beat. um you
Yeah,
know, I also like Die For You. I think Die For You is cool.
yeah. The thing I think with 6 feet under, um, I liked it because it was like it sounded like low life,
Yeah.
and that was really dope. Because like like hearing because the weekend was on low life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it was just like this is so dope, and then like I was kind of like, how are you gonna do Future like that and give him not even like a real feature?
On
Like
All I Know?
he didn't even spit any kind of verse,
On which?
on 6 feet under. He didn't get any kind of a verse. He was just in there like I don't forgot what like he was actually singing. He just did the hook, I think, but he didn't have like his own verse.
Are
And
you
then
sure?
yeah,
Because he's on All I Know.
yeah, but in 6 feet under, he didn't have a verse. He just I think he was just with the weekend on the hook, and that was it.
I didn't know he was on that song. All I remember from the hook is like 6 feet under. She gonna get that fucking paper.
It's at minute like 240. Just go like 245, and you'll hear him. That's all he's doing.
I'm
He's just singing
listening.
like 6 feet under. That's it.
Oh, I hear it. You know,
That's
that's
it.
probably not Future.
I think it is, bro.
Maybe I have no idea.
I think it
Either way,
is.
he got credited later.
Yeah, but
um,
still, like, I was like, how are you gonna like do that and not even like give him like an actual feature or like recognize it on there like that? But it was whatever. I was over the song after, like, I was over the album after we passed that song and whatever. I'm over it.
yeah.
And then,
I
and then the
really
fact. Go ahead. Sorry.
You can say what were you gonna say?
And then the fact that it ends with like "I Feel It Coming," I was like, bro,
Oh
you
my god.
started with Daft Punk and you're gonna end with Daft Punk, and these songs got hella overplayed, and I'm over it.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say something about I Feel It Coming because I really don't like that song, and I know a lot of people who love that song, but for me, it's just I for some reason I just really don't like it, and I think it's just because it's like I don't know, you know the type of music I like, and it's just not that.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I wasn't very happy listening to this one, and it took so long. And like, I don't like it when I listen to an album and I'm just not happy. Because like one, I'm trying to give it the respect it deserves, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, really, this is it? Like, this is I have to
Yeah,
listen to this for a couple more minutes.
and I hate it when that happens when we're going through music because like it just kind of takes the fun out of the conversation afterwards,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, and
And
he's not the only artist this happens to. It's a everybody. Like
yeah, and
everyone's
I
gonna have tracks that you just are not you don't like. You know.
it's true, but also like the reason why I feel like this album was like disappointing was because we know that he can do way better. It's the same situation with the Denzel Curry like filler projects like um that we talked about when we did our podcast about him.
Hmm.
Um it's just like we know that like he can do better and he will do better. So like why is this
Yeah.
what it is, you know?
Hmm.
Um
That's how I feel.
and
That's
ultimately like go ahead.
no. I was gonna say like that was a good like not in a way like an analogy, but like a comparison. Like we know
Yeah.
Denzel could do better, and like he eventually did, but like still, come on.
Yeah. Um, I think when it gets to the point where artists push out music that doesn't necessarily represent where they're at or like how they want to be making music, it might reflect a little bit more on the label's end.
Yeah.
Um, because the labels are, I mean, they have requirements for these artists to put out a certain amount of music in their contracts, and like I guarantee you, if the Weeknd was independent, this project probably wouldn't have happened.
Hmm. It's a good way to look at it too. I feel like now that you say that, I can't put this completely on the weekend. I have to put some of it on the label also.
And just the industry, you know.
Yeah, sucks,
Um,
but that's how it is.
it is, and like I mean, we'll see later down the line. He returns to something that's a lot more favorable um, for older fans. But I mean, he warned us about this. You know, he said I'm gonna have to do things in my career that like you guys. I hope you guys fuck with it, but it's honestly fine if you don't, because like I just have to. I'm gonna be part of this lifestyle now. Um, but yeah, honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about Starboy. I didn't even re-listen to it for this podcast. Um,
No.
I didn't because I listened to it when it came out, and then I've listened to all the songs many of times after that, just because it's the weekend and you know I'm a fan. But because it's not like I had to really do deep interpretations of these songs to really get across what I have to say. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I mean, do you have anything else to say about it?
Nope. I'm good.
Yeah, it sounds like if this is your first time listening to our podcast, then like it probably seems like we just like didn't listen to it or something. Like we're not like getting super deep into it, but there's reasons for that. Like go listen to Trilogy. It was very when we talked about Trilogy, it was a very different discussion.
Hmm.
And I
That
will
one
even
was
have a
very in depth.
very yeah, and I'm sure we'll have a different discussion with After Hours as well. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess we can move on to what's next, which in between Starboy and After Hours, he released My Dear Melancholy, which came out 2 years after Starboy in 2018, and it's how many tracks? 7-track EP. Well, 6 tracks. The seventh is an acapella of "Call Out My Name," and this I enjoyed this project a lot more than Starboy. What about you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like
It was
starting off with "Call Out My Name," like it felt like the direction I want him to keep going in. You know,
yeah.
it felt very like, okay, this is the Weekend I know, but he's still trying to, please the mainstream people.
Yeah.
And like I respected it, and for me, like it was a really good song. I like the acapella version. I think
Mhm.
more. It's so
Yeah.
much more powerful in my mind.
It's
Um,
cool.
yeah, like dude, the acapella was just like production wise. Here's the thing, because when you're producing things, sometimes you can hide things with other sounds. You can hide it
Yeah.
with an EQ, but it's straight up his voice, man. And like you can hear, like I can hear everything happening, and it was so clean. Like the de-esser was on point, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean it's that
C-
professional
compression,
production.
EQ, like oh my, it was just beautiful. And like I remember Spraggins one time he told us, he said the best compressor is the one you can't hear, and you
Yeah.
literally can't hear it.
No,
It's
yeah.
just so great, and like the reverb in there was so good. Like it wasn't overdone. It's not like the reverbs that like we always mess with in like Logic, where it's just like this is trash, this is doo doo. Like they're
Yeah.
so beautiful, man.
No, the Weeknd's always his producers for when it comes to reverb is always incredible because he uses a lot of reverb on his vocals. But it's never to a point where it's distracting and like it just fills up the gaps in the beat or in the instrumental when he's not singing. You know what I mean? And I feel like the acapella for "Call Out My Name" is like a great example. Like if you're into producing vocals, like you should go listen to this track because I mean they're giving you the acapella of the song, so you can literally just hear um, what they did to it, and it sounds amazing. Like I don't know what else to say.
And I think like the thing that was like very that I was worried about when I was listening to the acapella was how is the distortion gonna sound, not being mixed with
Yeah,
everything. And dude, it was fine.
it
It was
was.
perfect. It wasn't like ooh what happened. It was just like it was so good, man. And like there's just so much that went into this acapella, and like his vocal chain is insane. His production team is insane, and like it just inspired me to be like, okay, like eventually one day, like I can do this. I want to do something like this one day. And like just to produce
Yeah,
something that clean, like is like a dream of mine.
it's incredible. I mean, the song itself is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the production, I mean, he's clearly going through something here. It's like you look at Starboy, and I think he's like on the top of the world. I think at that point in his career, he was with Selena Gomez,
Yeah.
and
Bro,
my
I'd feel
guy
at the
was
top of
just
the world if I was with her. You kidding?
my
Ooh.
guy was just happy, and then she broke up with him, I think, um, and then this project came out, and it's clear my guy is just broken, and "Call Out My Name" is a great kind of tone setter
Yeah.
for how he's feeling, and I really also like the song "Privilege" on there, and "I Was Never There." Those songs are great. I like both the songs with just Jeff just Saffelstein or however you pronounce his name. Um, I think the production is great on those tracks.
I really liked Wasted Times because there's a part in there that he like does something with his voice and he lowers the pitch and he sounds like Giveon.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're talking about.
And I was hyped. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Is Giveon on this project? And I looked, I was like, no, he's not. Damn it. But I was like so hyped. Like it just sounded so good. And I was like, honestly, I'm gonna go back and listen to some more Giveon like right now. So like that's what I did right after I was done with like listening. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, this project I do feel like is a turning point for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to the moody Weekend we know and love.
Yeah,
uh,
very like destructive almost.
yeah,
You know.
and it's a short little project, but it's way more of a concept than anything Starboy was.
Yep.
And that's how I feel about it, at least. Another one of those projects I just want people to go listen to understand, like, gets you in your feelings.
Yeah. It was good, man. I mean, I liked it. it feels very like relatable, you know?
Yeah.
Like Starboy, you're just like, okay, whatever. But like My Dear Melancholy is, it just feels more relatable for like fans. You know, it's like
Oh
you
yeah.
want your music to be relatable. You want fans to connect with it. And I feel like as a fan, I connected with this more than I could with Starboy.
Yeah, exactly. And Starboy, I mean, it's not a very relatable project. Like there's songs on there that are, but I mean, it's about in its majority stardom and that lifestyle. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I always say music doesn't have to be relatable to be good. But it's definitely a plus when it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also really great when when artists are able to talk about their unique experiences while also making it relatable, which is what he does on After Hours throughout the entire thing, which we'll get into. Um, but I think this project is just straight up relatable. Um, because I mean, he's hurt. It's about a breakup, you know?
Yep. I don't know. I really liked it.
Yeah,
Definitely a good one.
it was definitely a good one. But I'm excited to talk about After Hours.
Me too, man. Let's fucking
So,
do it.
After Hours, as we all know, came out in 2020. I don't remember when in 2020, but sometime. I think it was around. It was sometime in the spring. I think. Uh, I remember when the singles were coming out. I know, Heartless and uh, freaking Blinding Lights were the earlier singles. Um, I don't remember which one came out first, but then I know After Hours, the title track, was the third single, and that released uh, sometime closer to the album's actual release date. And I think those were three strong singles.
They
Um,
were so good, bro.
I know, like when it comes to singles, like for the weekend, like at this point, you would probably expect it to be very different sound. You know what I mean? And because like Starboy was the single for Starboy, and you know whatever else the single False Alarm, Feel It Coming. Uh, but you know you first hear Heartless and it's like aggressive, and you're like, whoa, the Weeknd's talking about all that dark shit he used to talk about, but it's in a very trap. I mean, it's Metro Boomin. Um,
Yeah, but
and
like I was hyped to see. I was like, oh, Metro Boomin, I'm with it. You know?
yeah, no, definitely. That's what I mean. Like, it was so cool to hear him being on a track like that after kind of everyone thought he was like more tame now. Um, and what's cool about the singles too, at least how I feel, is that they don't need to be like contextually in the album for them to like be good songs, you know?
Yeah.
Because before they come out, we didn't know like the context or what the album's about. But then when after you know you listen to it in order, they play a very crucial role in the
Mm-hmm.
album, as we'll talk about, as because I want to go through track to track basically.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, so Alone Again, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, like when I first heard it, I I got like the goosebumps just because of like the little like trill that was going on, the little sequencing stuff. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, like I'm ready. Like I want to know what's gonna happen. Like I don't know. I was just excited to see what he brings in this because I remember listening to it when it came out, but not like in depth or like my whole attention. I was just like, oh, background noise. Let's see what happens. Let's see what song catches my attention. You
yeah,
know. And then he just came at me with like the same like old Weekend vibes, and I was like, all right, like it felt dark, and I liked it.
yeah. It's a very dark project in its entirety. Like it's not your it's not your Star Boy, you know. But Alone Again, I think, is a really cool track as like an opener because it has that beat switch. I don't know if you remember that, but
Mm-hmm.
when it turns into that kind of like trap sound in the middle of the song.
Mm.
Um,
That synth
but it's
reminds me of like Stranger Things. Not gonna lie,
oh yeah,
it just sounds like the opening to, like Stranger Things. It was cool.
it was. I love the. I mean, this whole album sounds so great.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very unique, um, very synth heavy, but not in like a weird way. Um, subject matter wise, Alone Again, he's basically setting the tone here. As I tend to say with intro tracks that are good, they should set the tone. But in the opening lyrics, I think he says like he's taking off his disguise, and I kind of think of that as like he can't really pretend to be what he's not anymore. Um, and like he knows he can't like continue living like that because it's affecting his relationships. You know, the Starboy lifestyle is has been too it has taken its toll. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what I got from Alone Again.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, I love how he normally like sets up like the tone, like you were saying, where like he lets you know basically what's gonna happen on the project
Yeah,
with like the first track, you know, and like that's why I feel like his, you know, his projects always feel like a story at a different point in his life. You know, like this was two
yeah,
years after like My Dear Melancholy, you know, and like, okay, where is he at now? You know, it's just like it feels more personal, which
yeah.
is
And you wonder like how has he been like mental health wise? Because 4 years prior to this was Starboy, and you just get that 7 track or 6 track EP in the middle. That wasn't necessarily a happy project. And then this album comes along, and he's clearly in a very dark place. And he details that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so then Too Late and Hardest to Love come next, and I really like Too Late because it's like it has that juxtaposition where it's like not necessarily a super sad beat, but like he's he's clearly adopted a very different mindset than he had like with Trilogy, because he's blaming himself now, you know? And we've talked about in these Weekend episodes how he never blames himself. He always blames the
Yes.
female. And
Yes.
this whole project he's blaming himself. And
Mm-hmm.
he's saying, you know, he lost something super great with this girl and he's really hurting over that. But you know, it
It's
continues into Hardest to Love, which we can
yeah.
talk about next.
And it's rare, like it was really rare for him to ever like take the blame.
Yeah.
You know, it's always like you knew what you were getting yourself into, so don't like, you know, why are you acting like this? And now he's like, I'm sorry. Like he's just saying like it's on me. This one's on me for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and that really, I mean, that's how the rest of the project goes. Because Hardest to Love is the same thing. I mean, literally the hook. I've been the hardest to love, um, and he. I like that track a lot too because it's super unique in terms of that drum beat. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that one, but it's summed up by the title because he's admitting that he's to blame for the relationship's failure.
Yeah, I just think like I like you like in the chorus. He's like, but I've been the hardest to love. You're trying to let me go, and I can see it. I can see it. You know,
Yeah,
and he's just like at this point he's just saying like I know I'm hard to love and like you want to let me go, but he's like he can tell that she's ready to give up, and at this point he's like I know it. He's like I know it's on me, it's not her fault. You know, she's
yeah,
trying. But
exactly.
and I
Yeah,
think
that's. I mean, exactly.
the other one that hurt to hear too was in like his second verse. I think he said like together we are so alone. And like
Mm-hmm.
that's like how does that work? You know? And like
Yeah.
honestly, like it's stupid to think, but like my first thought when I heard that was that scene from Diary of Wimpy Kid where he tells like I don't know, I don't even know his name. What was his name? Greg?
Oh, Greg. Yeah.
He tells his friend, I forgot what his friend's name was. He's like, I just want to be alone right now. And his friend's like, me too. We can do that together. You know? But like this one was just different because he's like, together we are so alone. And it doesn't make sense because like when you're together with someone, you're not alone, but still he's like, we're still alone when we're together.
I think it's because like they've been trying to make it work when they know it like can't, and like he keeps fucking it up, and she's like trying to make it work, you know, and she tried to let him go or whatever, but it's just not working. And they're not where they need to be. Um, and then I think they accept that because it goes into Scared to Live,
I love
where I know, bro, that track is so good. It's so good. I remember he debuted on SNL, and I had been watching that episode, and because I knew he was going to be on it and debut a new song, and just the way it opens up with that kick hit, and he immediately starts singing.
Mm,
Such a great track, and it's ultimately like it seems to me like an apology song because
yeah.
he's wishing the best for her, and he hopes that she knows that he wants her to prosper, and he kind
Mm,
of makes it seem like he cheated on her because he says he should have made her his only.
yeah. But then like he says, I'm the reason you forgot to love. And like
Yeah,
that's him taking the blame, which he like fucking never does.
exactly.
And so like to hear that in like, with the tone of the song, it's like it's real. It's a real sorry, it's a real pain he's feeling, you know? But at the end of the day, he's like,
Exactly.
he wants her. He's like, don't be scared to live again. Like, dude, like he like right here in verse 2, he's like, you always miss the chance to fall for someone else because your heart only knows me. And
Yeah.
that's he's like, I'm sorry for that. Like, that's not what I wanted for you.
I think he's saying too, like, she should be allowed to move on. Like, don't be afraid to live your life and forget me. Like, be with someone else, you know?
Yeah.
Um, because he feels bad for the fact that he's been so toxic while the only man she's ever, or recently been with. Um, and yeah, I think that Scared to Live is the acceptance track in a way, you know?
Hmm.
And then you got Snow Child next, which is another dope track. It's
I
more
like the beat. It was good.
beats fire. Yeah. It's very trap sounding again, which is different than the last three tracks. But it's like he's talking about the come up and basically how he misses how it used to be, but like it was a grind, and um,
Hmm.
he misses being who he was, and he's tired of all the baggage that comes with the fame. He's like, I made it to Cali, but now I'm leaving, and like in the morning, he's like, Cali was the mission. Um, Now he's like, Cali was the mission, but now I'm leaving
Hmm.
because it's not all that it was made out to be.
Yeah. I also took like Cali was the mission. I took that verse or that bar at least like as, in a way like he's reflecting. I feel like at this point he's already like separated from that girl and he's just like trying to take a moment to reflect on like his life and like if he's really making the right decisions, because he's saying I used to pray when I was 16. Like he's thinking back to when he was a kid, and I feel like he's just thinking like how did all my decisions lead up to this and what pain I'm feeling, and the
Yeah,
fact that Callie was the mission but now he's leaving, and then he goes into the part where he's like where he says she never need a man, she would a man need, you know and it's like
uh,
that's the type of shit you need. Like you need a strong, independent girl that's like, nah, fuck you, I don't need you. You need me,
yeah.
type of shit. Like that shit's attractive. I ain't gonna lie.
No, it is, and that line too. Um, on Heartless, it's reversed, and he says, "Never need a bitch, I'm what a bitch needs,"
Mm-hmm.
and that shows what Heartless is about. Because we'll get to Heartless, but like, yeah, we'll get to Heartless. But
Yeah.
Escape from LA is kind of important to talk about right after Snow Child because he's leaving from Cali and or he wants to, because he's talking about how that LA lifestyle it's impacted him. It's not what he wanted, or it's not what it seemed to be, and it's made him embark on that lifestyle that's ultimately been damaging him and his relationships, and he can't really escape from that. But he's gotten everything that he could have possibly dreamed of getting, and it's not enough to save his relationships or keep the girl with him or keep him from ruining his health and stuff like that. At least, that's how the first part of the song was. Um, how do you feel about that track?
I think it was just a nice, honestly, for me, it was like a nice mental break,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously the title was Escape from LA. He talked about Cali was the mission. So we know like he's leaving, and at this point, I feel like he's just like, he's still thinking about her, but like, not the way that he doesn't want to leave. He just know he has to, and then
Yeah.
the chorus where he's like, "Take me out, LA, take me out of LA." I feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
like two different things. I feel like he'd be happy if like LA was just the death of him and he's like he just dies, or take
Yeah.
me out of LA. He's like, I'll be happy if I die here or if I just leave. You know, either way, he's gonna be out of LA.
No, yeah, that's actually a really good interpretation because, like, I think part of him definitely does like the lifestyle, but it's just that he's realizing that how dangerous it is.
He even says it. He says, "This place will be the end of me,
Oh
regardless."
yeah,
You know, and he's like, "I will die here, or I'm gonna leave here, and that's it for me."
yeah,
You know.
which is tough because like that's not what you expect LA to be like, um, as a kid who's not from there. Um, but then that second half of the track where it just gets dark and he's like talking about hooking up with a girl in the studio, but he's basically, I think he's probably talking about the girl that he's been talking about, which is probably Bella Hadid.
Mm-hmm.
um, his most serious relationship, but he's in a way dismissing that exchange by saying that like she looks like every other girl because of like all the plastic surgery done on LA girls,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of roast, but he alludes to the fact that like maybe after his relationship with her, after it ended, um, she's like been with someone else and their hookup like ends with the other guy calling her because he says like I don't remember exactly what he said, but something about like he called her and so he's like it's not as meaningful anymore in a way.
Yeah. I don't know. It was good. I think it was just like it was dark and it got really like intense. Like he's really good at painting pictures, bro.
Yeah.
He's really good at that with just his lyrics, and like you can see the progression of how his night is going.
Oh
And
yeah.
like that's, I mean, that's talent. It's just
Yeah, I
that's
remember seeing the memes about this song when it came out. Everyone was like the owner of the studio after hearing the song and it was like the Mike Wazowski.
they're probably hearing it. Like imagine being in that studio, like working on it, you know, and then everyone
Yeah.
just like looks around. They pick their hands up, like, ew, like I'm
I
touching
know.
this. Where did this happen? We need to disinfect it, you know.
Like, bro, what went down in here?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Heartless comes along, and I feel like Heartless is like the denial track in a way. He's like, because he just admitted that like their exchange, their hookup, like it didn't really mean anything because all the girls are looking the same. And he's like, this is where it takes a change. Like, I'm a, he's, it's way more upbeat as everyone's heard this song, but he's talking about the harmful lifestyle that he's been talking about this whole time. But I think it's like purposeful how ironic it is that he's like heartless, and then after the whole half of this album has been talking about how he got his heart broken. It's I
Mm.
mean it's clearly intentional, and it's he's returning to the man that he used to be, as he's been saying. He's returning to that heartless guy who always blamed the woman, but that's not actually true. It's a front.
Yeah. I feel like it's honestly like his like, after the breakup, you're just like you just want to hoe around. You're like, fuck it, I've been faithful for a while. I'm done. I'm over it. You know?
Yeah,
And like I feel like that's him. Like I think the video, right? He's like aren't isn't he him in like Metro in Vegas or something?
yeah. All the
And
music videos were in Vegas.
yeah, and I feel like that's him, and I feel like that's him just going on a fucking bender in Vegas and just like
Yeah,
being like, I'm done. Like, not that he's like just trying to go back to destructive ways. I think he's just like trying to escape, which can be toxic, you know?
yeah.
And he's
He's
in
trying to
that,
escape
yeah.
by going back to those.
And like you said earlier, like denial. Like this one, he's kind of in denial now. And
Yeah,
it's prevalent with that verse where he says, like, he's what a bitch needs.
yeah,
But like what is it, like this, like a couple stages of grief, right? Like he's
yeah.
grieving, and
Exactly.
this is like his denial stage,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, as BS as I think those the stages of grief are, um, this it definitely is kind of real when it comes to a breakup because like
Mm-hmm.
he earlier in the album we were talking about, he's like she doesn't need a man, she's what a man needs, And then he's like down here, he's like, I don't need a bitch. Like I'm what a
Exactly.
bitch needs. And
Exactly.
like he clearly, I don't think he actually feels that way. I think that he's just like you said, he's post breakup trying to flex, but he's hurting. And that I think is a great like breaking point for the album where it changes, or at least it really illustrates like how it's been progressing. Because like the first track, Alone Again, like he's like, I don't want to be alone again, like he's like denying it. And then it gets to the point where he's just apologizing and blaming himself, and then he's like, all right, fuck her, like I'm heartless.
Hmm.
you know but then Faith comes along, and I think that's another dope track.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that one?
Uh, it's really interesting because like I wasn't able to tell like how he was really feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's this one he's like destructive. He's
Yeah.
literally saying like the first verse he's like light up a blunt with the flame, put that cocaine on a plate. You're like sweet. He's like Molly with that purple rain because I lost my faith. You're like, all right, this guy's he's definitely on still on his bender, you know.
Yeah.
But then you get to the little it's a post chorus. I mean, I'm straight up reading the lyrics. And he's like, I've been sober for a year now. Now it's time for me to go back to my old ways. Don't you cry for me. That I'd be a better man,
Yeah.
but I lied to me and to you. And it's like, okay, I think for that year that he was sober, he was with this girl. And at this point that now he's not with her, he's like, I'm done. Like I think it just hurts him so much to not be with her that he's like, I'm just gonna go and like do all this shit. And I feel like in his mind he's just hoping to like OD at this point.
Yeah, he
Like that'd be
doesn't
easier for him.
like he I mean, he's obviously talking about that drug obsessed lifestyle that, started in Heartless, and like it's gotten to a point where it's like just crazy clouding his judgment, and like all of his faith has been lost. As he's saying, he's falling apart. And like he said, like, if I OD, I want you to OD right beside me. And like he's cool with that. Just like nothing matters except how he would feel if he had this girl there.
Yeah. I mean, he
And then
even
that,
says it. He says like he's like, if I OD, I want you to OD right beside me.
yeah, exactly.
And it's like at this point he's like I feel like that's him saying like if I can't have you, I don't want anyone to have you. And like he
Yeah.
just wants to kind of force this onto her. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
selfish. And
It is.
that's the Weeknd we like in a way know. It's like
Yeah.
not that I'm saying like he's a selfish human being, but like the way he's like, you know, talking about himself in these songs, like that's what you get from him.
Yeah. But he's still in a very like messed up place here. Like I think it's intentional of him to be like irrationally hoping that she is there with him while he dies and does the same thing. Like if I die, I want you to die too. Um, I think he knows that's irrational. And the outro of the track, it's like it's so cool. I don't know if you remember, but like it has the sirens in the background, and like it's as if he actually OD'd in a way.
Well,
And
actually,
he's
I was reading something about that, and it said he said that there was a time where, like, he said in, like, in 2013, 2014, he was just not really in a good place with a lot of personal stuff, and he said he got arrested in Vegas, and the sirens at the
hmm.
end of the song are supposed to signify that, like, dark place he was in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I
So
don't think
like
he OD'd. For sure he didn't OD. He just he was just trying to say, like, I'm destructive, I guess, in a way.
yeah, that makes sense. But he's talking about how the lights are blinding him, and then it goes into blinding lights. And at least how I interpret it, like the lights, I think is like how that lifestyle, that drug obsessed lifestyle, the LA lifestyle, has blinded him to like what's actually important. You know,
Mhm.
at least that's what I think.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I thought it was an okay song. You know.
Blinding lights.
Oh, Blinding Lights. I low key thought you were still talking about Faith. I didn't hear you say Blinding Lights.
Oh,
Um,
well.
I mean, look, Blinding Lights. Like, I feel like it's another one of those like he's talking about something a little bit like dark, but it's like a upbeat song.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like what do they call like oxymorons when you use it in like a sentence?
Yeah,
Like
That's
that's like cold hot or like hot cold or some shit like that.
I don't
I don't know. I don't know what an oxymoron
know.
is honestly, but
I think it's like something that um I gotta think. Never mind. Let's just
yeah, I
not.
don't know. I can't really think of an oxymoron. Um,
I just think that Schoolboy Q album. Never mind. All right.
look, um, I just think it's like this was another one where he had a video in Vegas, right? Or all of them you
hmm
said were in Vegas.
I think all the
Um,
music videos were, yeah.
yeah, I feel like honestly, like thinking about that, what I read about some interview he did saying he got arrested in Vegas, I feel like he's talking about that time he did,
hmm
throughout the project, and like, this was a girl from like, a while ago, but he's just kind of like saying like he's like filling it in, because he talks about Vegas in this song too, like Sin City's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me, so like he's
hmm
just doing his thing, he's still on his bender, man, and like,
Yeah.
well,
And then it after Blinding Lights, it goes into Repeat After Me, which I feel like is like he's like drunk, and he's like just trying to find a way to talk to the girl in a way where he's like he's in denial here. He's like I don't know. He's telling her like you don't love him, you don't love him, you don't love him. Like I feel like that'd
well,
be
he's trying to
like drunk.
brainwash her, bro.
Yeah,
Trying to say like, nah, you don't want him, you want me, you don't want him, you want me. But no, it does sound like drunk. It does sound
yeah.
like
Like
he's
it
either
sounds like
drunk or like he's completely fucking high or just like he's on something where he's like, no, you need me instead.
exactly.
You know.
And I love that how it opens up with that drum beat. I
Mm-hmm.
love how it sounds. It's a great. I mean, we haven't really been talking about what these tracks sound like, but they all. I mean, the production is incredible and it's super unique. I mean, Blinding Lights sounds like a '80s banger. um, but yeah, I mean, after that, you get After Hours, the track, and that's my favorite song on
After
the album.
Hours, yes.
That track, I love that track so much. It's like I said, it's my favorite track on there for a variety of reasons, though.
Mm-hmm.
I
What are your
remember when I
reasons?
well, when I first heard it, because it was the third single, like I had heard it before, like all the other tracks on the album, other than Blinding Lights and Heartless, and it was very different than those two tracks. Um, because those two tracks are kind of upbeat, and this track is like super sad. Like he at this point he's saying like he simply cannot function without this girl. Like he was ready for like that full on commitment, but like he's too late. He's like entirely too late, and he can't even like breathe without her. He's having dreams about like death and returning to that lethal lifestyle. And one of the reasons I like it though is because like it's split into three different like very different sounds. It has that intro, and then it opens up into the beat, the midsection, and then the outro where it's just super sad. Is very like emotional vocals near the end, and I just love how that happens. And like he's so regretful and like sorry, and he's like crying out to try to get this girl back, even though he knows it's over. You know?
Mm-hmm. But then like this track again, like this is where we keep saying like he takes the blame.
Yeah,
He's like in the bridge right before like he ends the song. He's like, I know it's all my fault. I know I made you fall. I lied to you. I lied to you. I lied to you.
yeah,
Like those are like
exactly.
three different bars he has, and it's like, okay, he's accepting this, and it kind of puts like all the rest of like the songs we listen to into like a perspective, and like this is like the story,
Yeah,
and like I feel like if this was like a real book he was writing, like I kind of feel like this might be like the climax, like the rising action stuff that we learned about would be like his freaking bender. Like
yeah,
his bender, like, oh, it's getting exciting. What's gonna happen? And like this is it. Like right here, he's like, I'm sorry. And it's like the whole point of this was like for him to accept it, and now he's finally accepted it. And then from then on, it's like, all right, let's see where the rest of this project goes, which like the last song, but like, you know, I mean, I
yeah,
thought I
definitely.
liked it. I really did. It was like slow. It wasn't like in your face at all. It was just like, man, like I could listen to the song. Like I wish it was a little bit longer. I mean, it's already 6 minutes, but like I wish it was longer.
Yeah, because it's like three different tracks. You know, like you
Mm-hmm.
have that. The ending of it is just so heartbreaking because there's like no drums. It's just him and like the synth, and it's so sad, but it's so good. It's so honest too. Like he's not like saying that he's in denial or any. Like he's very clear what this song is about. You know,
Yeah. And
and then go
like
ahead.
for me, it gave me like the most. It reminded me of Trilogy, bro, where he just literally will just sing and like he's like showing off his talent, like with like nothing else backing him up. You know, he'll have like a synth or something going on, and he's just singing, and he sings with that like sadness and that it's a little bit dark too. You know, of like that he had in a lot of the Trilogy tracks.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, you know that I love it when he does that where he's just singing
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. That's why it's my favorite track cuz it's so raw and so emotional.
Like this
And
track, I wouldn't have minded if he went on like 3 minutes of just oohs and ahs. You know, like I felt
yeah.
like I wanted that emotionalness. I wanted him to just like sing his heart out. You
Yeah,
know,
and I
it
feel like
was
he did. I mean, like it was I love that track.
it was good. And like it's honestly for like the title track, man. Like goddamn, like woo,
I know. Title
it was
tracks got to
good.
always
They
they
have to
always
be
got to show
good, and
out.
he
Yeah.
delivered. He totally delivered on this.
Yeah, for real. Like I wouldn't have been mad if that was the final song too.
Me either.
But Until I Bleed Out is also a great one.
Mm-hmm. Word, I liked it. I think it was
Yeah.
just honestly like for me, just like it wrapped it up, man. Like it was just kind of like all right after hours, like it was powerful, you know, like,
Yeah.
and then you get into this song, and like at this point, like he's just like, there's no more I can do,
Yeah. And
you know.
Until I Bleed Out, he's talking about again like where he's at and like it's hurting him so much that he's not with her and like you said, I want to cut you out of my dreams till I'm bleeding out. Like he'd be fine with dying if she's not there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the end of the track he's like saying, I keep telling myself I don't need it. Um, but I think he's talking about, you know, that lifestyle again. As I keep saying, like he keeps telling himself he doesn't need it, but it's his coping mechanism. It's his
Yeah,
bender, you know, like what you're saying. Um, it's really tragic. Like this album is so sad.
yeah, but in a way, like it brings it back to like, you know, like this is a crucial point in his life. Like he's saying, I don't want to get high anymore. I just want out of my life, out of my life. But like you said, it's his coping mechanism. So it's like, does he stop this? You know, and I feel like the whole I want to cut you out of my dreams till I'm bleeding out. I feel like, you know, the way he's gonna do that is by drugs and his destructive lifestyle. Like that's how he will get her out of there, you know.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter if he dies or not, because he's just at that point. And you know, but like then at the outro, he's like he keeps telling himself he doesn't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like, you know, I feel like this is like a like the part in his life where, all right, I got to make this decision. But it, honestly, like I feel like it's a cliffhanger too.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what does he really decide? What did he?
Yeah, like what's gonna happen with him next?
Yeah, you know, and
um,
like I like that because it's like, okay, now I have something else to look forward to. I want to know where he's at. It doesn't mess with my mind, but I'm also just curious, you know?
yeah, and like this project, like you wonder where he can go because like this is a project that it spawned from an experience that he had, multiple experiences that he had, and like it's that's what makes it so good in my opinion. That like it's not just about nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And I did just remember that I skipped over two tracks when we were going through the tracks, and I did
Yeah,
that
you
on
skipped him
purpose.
over. Yeah, in your eyes and save your tears.
I did that on purpose because I don't like those songs, and I don't think they add anything to the album.
Yeah, they were okay. They were like whatever. I didn't think they added anything either. I thought they were more. It's weird, like in your eyes and then save your tears, like two songs to deal with, like, you know, eyes and shit, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But also like I don't know. it felt very, they felt kind of out of place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like after Heartless through Blinding Lights, and then these two, you're like, wait, what?
I know it's a really weird like
Placement.
I know, and they're super poppy, they're super upbeat. Um, I don't know, like I feel like the story is trying to tell works a lot better if you go from Blinding Lights to Repeat After Me.
Yeah. I
Um,
feel like because that it just continues the darkness throughout the whole
yeah,
track.
like it's just the dissension instead of
Hmm.
like the Blinding Lights, and it's not getting it gets super happy ish, and then like down to Repeat After Me again.
Hmm.
It's just I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of those tracks.
I also feel
Um,
like it could be like at this point he's just trying to like be there for her instead, you know?
mhm.
And he's at this point it's like, okay, like, you know, he went through his weekend, or not weekend, but like his time in Vegas. He did all that. And now he's trying to be like, hey, like, don't worry about it. Like, you're okay. Like, it's on me. Like, save your tears, whatever, you
Yeah.
know? And then the whole repeat after me, he's like, you know, after trying to do that, he goes, I don't really want to be okay with this. You
Mhm.
know, I don't want it to be like this. I'm not okay with it. I can't be okay with it. He doesn't accept it, you know? And so he goes and he's like, the whole repeat after me, like, okay, you know, I was supportive and now I'm going to try and brainwash you, which is like, you know, it's kind of weird. It's toxic a little bit, but like, you know what? Like, could I have done without those tracks? Absolutely.
mhm.
But I mean, like, I feel like if you want to get deep about it and like, you know, what I'm saying is a stretch for sure. Definitely a stretch. But that's kind of how I saw those two tracks in a way.
Yeah, and I mean it's good that you got that out of it. I mean for me like it's just hard to it really just takes me out of it in a way.
Yeah.
Um
It's okay.
but I know that they're very popular. Like I've seen a lot of people praising those songs. They're just not for me. They're not for everybody. The album's not for
Mm.
everybody, but I personally think it's an amazing album.
I
Which
thought it was good, man.
yeah, and like we've talked about the story, like it's such a cohesive story that he's telling, and
Yeah.
it goes from one place to the middle to the end, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not it's not repetitive. It's not it's a decent it's a good length, you know. Um, and yeah, I think that kind of leads us into how we should talk about ranking the weekend's albums.
All right. I'm with it.
So I think we both prepared our rankings prior to this.
Yeah, we did.
Um, but do you want to do it how we did the Arctic Monkeys, where we do like
One,
spot?
we'll just do our like last spot and up to the first.
Yeah, and also for the listeners, I didn't include My Dear Melancholy in the ranking because I just don't think it's really possible to rank it amongst the albums because it's just not the same. It's shorter. It's just not. I don't know. It didn't really fit my ranking, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
compare when you compare it to the other, like, you know, projects, it's definitely like it's shorter.
mhm,
Even time wise it's shorter. So like the songs in there are like shorter than he normally does, so it's kind of like, I don't know. We can't
mhm,
really include it.
yeah.
But all right, man, let's do you want me to start first?
So yeah, you have seven, right?
Seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, you're
I'm counting all
counting
the trilogy
trilogy.
albums
You're counting them
separately.
separate. Okay, so yeah, technically it's separate.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go first.
All right.
In last place for me, you know, last but not least, let's just, you know what I'm saying? Like it's still a good, I think it's like it's a project, but like it's definitely last place for me, Starboy.
I'm with you there. That's my last place too. That's number seven.
Yeah, and I don't want to dive into it more, so like let's just move on.
Right. Number
um
six for you.
I want to say it's hard to put this one here because I liked it, but I have to say Beauty.
Mm, interesting. I don't like disagree with your placement at all because uh,
It's tough.
beauty
This
is
is a tough decision.
yeah, and I mean it's great. Like beauty definitely grows on you if you listen to it a bunch.
Yeah.
But for me, my sixth spot is actually Thursday,
Hmm.
which I
Well,
know is
here's
controversial.
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like, the thing is, like, I did my rankings differently, um, for a reason, and we'll get to that point, when we're done. Um, but like, yeah, I could see why you would put Thursday down there for sure. We talked about that, so that makes sense.
Yeah, we don't need to go into it. um, but I will say that Thursday, of the three albums that are in trilogy, I think it's the most disjointed, and I think it has the most tracks that are too long, in my opinion,
Mhm.
and don't really go anywhere. And it's just less cohesive. But that's not to say I don't love it. You know,
Yeah. Cool. And then so at number where we at 5 now?
five, yeah, five.
I put Kissland.
Interesting. Mine is
I'm telling
BD.
you, these are tough, bro. These are
They
tough.
are, and like just because they're low doesn't mean we don't love them. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
because
Really
Kissland's
tough.
incredible. Like,
It was good. I loved it so much, dude. Coming off a trilogy, like hearing that, I loved
so
it.
good, so good. Yeah,
Yeah. So then we're on to 4.
yeah.
Okay, I put. It's hard to just say this because like of the way I did it. Okay, so technically, I put it after hours on 4.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. Mine was Kissland.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
so y'all know already that what's in my top three.
Yeah, for sure.
um,
Um, I'll just go ahead and say it. Like, I mean, my top 3, and I'll just say it. Like, my top 3 is trilogy.
yeah.
Like, I know Thursday is just like kind of like what, like whatever. It's fine. Like, I hated the 8-minute long track. I didn't hate it, but I was just like 8 minutes, bro. 8 minutes. I was just like, that's what got to me. So like for sure, like Thursday's like number 3 there, and then for me it goes Silence and then House. Because like if we're doing it like that, because like trilogy for me is like I love that one the most,
hmm
and out of those I just ranked them separately.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I had to take like trilogy on its own, like it would be number one for me as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but even though Thursday was sixth, After Hours is my third spot, because I think it's incredible. But
Mm-hmm.
one and two, I mean, two is Echoes of Silence, and one is House of Balloons. I mean, I said in the first episode that House of Balloons is a 10 for me. I don't
Is
just like
it?
give that out. Like, it's straight up a 10, bro.
Yeah, I agree, bro. That's definitely a good one. It's in my number 1 spot.
Yeah.
Um, but it's tough to put After Hours at 4, behind Thursday, but I'm counting Thursday in the top 3 because it's part of that one project in a way,
Yeah, no, that
you know.
totally makes sense.
So
And
like
like
that's why I put it there.
Thursday, it has some tracks on there that are just amazing too. But like you said, like Gone is 8 minutes, and it gets a little bit tiring. And same with like Heaven or Las Vegas.
Mm.
Um, and even The Zone, which is 7 minutes long. And The Birds Part 2, which is 6 minutes long. You're just like, bruh. But it's still great music.
Yeah. Oh man, that one hurt. I just yawned and like it actually hurt. Like okay, so my jaw, I think I got hit really hard when I played football,
Oh
and
yeah.
like I think something's not okay in there. So sometimes my jaw locks when I
Oh
yawn.
no.
It's really scary. I won't know it.
Ah, God,
Yeah, it's
that
weird.
sounds
Sorry.
horrible.
Weird tangent. Weird tangent. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, honestly, this was a really fun listening experience.
Bro, it was.
Like going through it and like getting to know him as an artist more. Because I knew The Weeknd was good. And like you hear things like, oh yeah, he doesn't sound the same, and I'm like, I guess so. But like now I agree with that. Like there's times where he didn't sound like himself,
Yeah,
and he brought it back with After Hours. I feel. You know.
exactly. Yeah, and I'm so excited to hear what's next.
Me too. And like, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't want to have these really high expectations, and then get let down. Like that's my thing. Like, I tend to not have crazy expectations for things, so I can save myself being let down.
Yeah.
Like that sounds weird to say, but like it just is true. like with me,
I
because
mean, I think when it comes to the weekend, his hit to miss ratio is pretty good. So I
yeah,
think high expectations are fair.
yeah,
um, but that's just me. I mean, I'm so glad that I could hear your opinion on some of my favorite music ever. Um, this was super fun. I mean, 3 episodes. I think all of them are over an hour,
yeah, I think so.
and that's what it needed to be, though. I mean,
They're
these are
dense.
dense projects, and they're about things, you know.
Yeah. I'm just
But yeah,
I'm interested to, like, as we continue talking about different artists and listen to discographies and stuff, like what, like I don't know if we'll ever get across someone that's like as deep and like as it gets this dark, you know? Like
yeah.
subject matter wise, like this is very like unique. Like no one really does this. Everyone likes to flex, you know?
I
But
can't
he
wait until we
flexes.
talk about "To Pimp a Butterfly" by Kendrick. That's like the most like deep album ever.
Really?
Yeah, you'll see.
Word. I'm down. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I thought it was so unique to hear something like this. Like a guy that's this big and he talks about some dark stuff, it makes it relatable, but music doesn't have to be relatable, like you said. Sometimes it can
Yeah,
just slap, and that's okay too. And he does make some songs that slap,
he does. Very.
but
He's
we like to focus on like the subject matter and what's going on to
yeah.
make it
That's
see
what's
if like
most
the
fun for
project
me.
is relevant.
Exactly. Exactly. Damn, we made it through.
We made it through, man. I mean, I'm happy. I'm content. I think it was cool.
It was super fun.
For
Super fun.
sure. I don't know. I don't know what's coming next, dude. I really
I don't
don't.
know. We'll have
We'll have to
to
talk about it for sure.
talk about it. Yeah.
For sure. For
All right,
sure.
everybody. I want you all to go check out The Weeknd if you haven't. I mean, I'm sure you've heard songs on the radio, but come on,
Yeah,
got to check them out.
for sure. As always, like hit us up with questions and talk about it. Like we love to talk about music. That's why we talk about it on our podcast.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why we talk
so
about it.
definitely, yeah, definitely like hit us up. I'm like, I love talking to people when they're like, oh, like I really like what you said about this. Like, oh, thank you. And then they tell me their
Yeah,
thoughts. They're like, oh, this was my interpretation of this song. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I didn't think about it that way. Like, that's really cool for me to hear.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely keep hitting us up, guys. Appreciate it.
for sure.
So, as always, I'm Adrian.
I'm Clark.
And we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.